It's incredible how much information we're bombarded with daily, isn't
Oh,
it?
absolutely. It's just endless.
You read an article here, scroll through a feed there. What really cuts through the noise are those clear, powerful insights that shift how you see things
Yeah,
and give you something you can actually use.
exactly. It's about quality over quantity, I think. Taking the time to deeply understand the core principles within, valuable material,
Hmm.
that's far more impactful than just skimming countless headlines.
Right.
That's where a focused exploration can truly change your perspective.
And that's a driving force behind this show, really. You share what you're finding interesting, what you want to understand better, and we try to help distill it
Hmm.
down to the essential, maybe game-changing ideas. Today, we're plunging into a pretty rich source of wisdom, the almanack of naval ravikant.
Naval, yeah. For those who maybe haven't encountered him, he's a really fascinating figure from Silicon Valley. Founded opinions, angelist, and his early investments, like in Uber and Twitter, shows a pretty remarkable ability to spot future trends.
Definitely.
And this almanac, it's not really a book by him, but it gathers his thoughts, his tweets, his interviews.
Right. Compiled.
Exactly,
Again.
compiled on two really intertwined aspects of a fulfilling life,
Hmm.
building wealth and cultivating happiness.
Right. And knowing your desire to grasp knowledge efficiently and, effectively, we felt this deep dive into his core philosophies would be particularly valuable for you.
Hope so.
We're aiming for those genuine aha moments that stick without leaving you feeling overwhelmed. So let's dive straight into his perspective on building wealth. Where does he even start? What's the fundamental shift?
Well, he starts by drawing a really vital distinction between wealth, money, and status.
Okay.
Wealth, for him, it's about creating assets that generate income even when you're not actively working.
Stuff earning while you sleep.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Businesses, investments, things that operate independently. Money, that's just the tool for exchange, the medium.
Right.
And status is your position in the social pecking order, the hierarchy game.
Okay.
His core messages focus relentlessly on building true wealth for genuine freedom.
Freedom.
Yeah, not just accumulating money or chasing social validation, that status game. The real insight here is understanding that wealth gives you leverage over your time.
Your time.
Money's just a means to an end, but wealth buys you freedom.
That reframes the whole goal, doesn't it? It's not about the fanciest car. It's about having control over your life, your time.
Precisely.
Now, I notice he lays a strong foundation on the ethics of creating wealth. Why is that so central for him?
It's absolutely foundational. Naval emphasizes really strongly the crucial importance of believing that wealth creation can be and should be an ethical endeavor,
Okay.
that it benefits everyone involved, ideally. He cautions against getting trapped in those status games.
Right, the pecking order thing.
Yeah, where people try to elevate themselves by attacking or undermining wealth creators. He sees true wealth creation as a positive sum game,
Positive sum. Okay.
where the value you generate ultimately enriches society as a whole, not just yourself. The key takeaway is focusing on creating value, not just extracting it through zero-sum tactics.
So a mindset of contribution rather than, like, destructive competition.
Exactly. Win-win thinking.
Now, how does one actually embark on building this ethical wealth?
Yeah.
He has a strong stance against simply renting out your time. What's the core of that?
Oh, yeah, that's a non-negotiable principle for him. Naval argues pretty forcefully that you will never achieve significant wealth by merely trading your hours for a wage.
Just working a job, basically.
Right. The leverage required for true financial independence, it comes through ownership.
Ownership.
Having equity in a business or a venture. This ties directly back to his definition of wealth assets working for you.
Makes sense.
When you own a piece of something scalable, the returns can grow exponentially, independent of your direct ongoing labor. Think about it. Your time is finite, right?
Totally finite.
But ownership potentially offers infinite upside.
Okay, so ownership is the engine. But what kind of opportunities or businesses should we be looking at to get that equity? Does it specify?
His guiding principle is pretty clear.
Well,
Give society what it wants,
okay.
but does not yet know how to get at scale.
Right. At scale is the key part there.
It is. It's about identifying unmet or maybe just poorly met needs and then figuring out how to fulfill those needs for a lot of people.
Like finding a gap.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Think about companies that introduced groundbreaking tech or services they tapped into a latent demand, something people didn't even know they needed maybe, and then scaled their solutions. The fundamental insight is look for inefficiencies, look for gaps in the market, and devise scalable ways to address them.
Anticipate and solve big problems, basically. He also emphasizes playing long-term games with long-term people. What's the strategic advantage there? Sounds like patience.
It is patience, but it's more too. It speaks to the power of compounding.
Ah, compound interest.
Yeah, but not just in money. Compounding in relationships, in reputation, in trust. Naval believes significant returns come from sustained effort and trustworthy collaborations over extended periods.
Right.
Choosing industries and partners where you can build deep trust, have enduring relationships. That's crucial. He often talks about investors or collaborators he's worked with for years, decades even,
Hmm.
where that mutual respect and integrity just leads to better and better ventures over time. It's about aligning yourself with people and opportunities that have staying power, not just chasing quick wins.
So building a foundation for sustained success through quality connections, not just transactions.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, he breaks down wealth creation into three key pillars: specific knowledge, accountability, and leverage. Let's
Okay.
unpack specific knowledge. What makes it specific? How's it different from just, general knowledge?
Specific knowledge is really interesting. It's not the kind of information you can easily learn in a standard curriculum or be trained for en masse. His point is, if society can train someone easily to do it, they can likely train someone else to replace you just as easily.
Right. Makes you fungible.
Exactly. Instead, specific knowledge arises from your genuine curiosity, your passions. It feels like play to you.
But work to others. I've heard him say that.
That's the key. It feels like play to you, but looks like hard work to others. The real insight is to stop trying to fit into these predefined boxes society gives you. Start exploring what makes you inherently different, what you're uniquely obsessed with, and therefore valuable.
So it's about that thing you're naturally drawn to that you do even if you weren't getting paid for it, like a hobby that becomes a skill.
Precisely. Or just an innate talent. He gives examples like maybe a knack for sales honed from childhood experiences, or deep musical talent, or an obsessive focus that lets you become a world expert in some niche area.
Or like a love for sci-fi that helps you understand new tech faster.
Yeah, that's another one he mentions. It's often technical or creative, and it can't be easily outsourced or automated. You often acquire this kind of knowledge through apprenticeships, self-experimentation, just relentlessly pursuing your innate talents. The key is it's deeply personal, authentic to you.
And this uniqueness, this authenticity, that's how you escape the rat race, escape competition.
Exactly his point. He says, escape competition through authenticity.
I like that.
When you're competing head on, you're often doing the same thing as everyone else, just maybe trying to do it slightly better or cheaper.
Right.
But when you build and market something that's a genuine expression of who you are and what you uniquely know, you become irreplaceable in a way.
Like a unique artist or a specialized surgeon.
Perfect examples. Their value lies in their unique expertise and perspective. No one can truly compete with you at being you.
That's a powerful shift in mindset.
Okay.
Okay, second pillar, accountability. How does that fit into building wealth? Seems risky.
It is risky, and that's kind of the point. Accountability is about taking ownership, taking
Right.
business risks under your own name.
Publicly.
Yeah, publicly. Naval argues society rewards those who do this, sticking their neck out with increased responsibility, a greater share of the equity if things go well, and ultimately more leverage.
Okay.
And yeah, failure is natural, it's scary. But he points out that in today's world, especially in tech and creative fields, honest efforts, even failed ones, are often met with understanding, maybe even forgiveness.
As long as you're acting with integrity.
Right. Stepping up, taking responsibility even when things go wrong. That builds a powerful reputation over time. It opens doors to bigger opportunities later. He talks about making bold predictions early in his career, being publicly associated with his ventures. Risky, yes, but it built trust.
So putting your neck on the line, being willing to own the outcome, win or lose, that actually drives opportunity. Interesting. And the final pillar is leverage. What kinds does he talk about? Which ones matter most now?
Leverage is the force multiplier for your efforts, right?
Yeah.
He identifies three main forms. First, capital, just money.
Okay.
Second, labor having other people working for you.
Right.
And third, and this is key today, products with zero marginal cost of replication. Think code and media.
Zero marginal cost.
Right.
Meaning it doesn't cost more to make another copy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You write the software once, or record the podcast once, or write the article once, and it can reach and serve millions without significant additional input or cost for each new user.
Powerful.
Hugely powerful. And he notes that capital and labor are often permissioned. You need investors to give you capital. You need to hire employees.
You need someone's approval.
Right. But code and media, largely permissionless.
You can just do it.
You can just start coding, start creating content. He emphasizes that this permissionless leverage is the key to so much of the rapid wealth creation we see today. Think of a hit app or a viral YouTube channel. The initial effort scales almost infinitely.
That really has changed the game, hasn't it? The internet enables that permissionless leverage. Now, he also stresses the importance of judgment. How does that connect with leverage?
It's a critical connection. He astutely points out that leverage amplifies whatever judgment you possess.
Good or bad?
Good or bad. Exactly. Poor judgment combined with massive leverage. That can lead to catastrophic outcomes. We see it all the time.
Yeah.
So, cultivating sound judgment is paramount. He believes judgment stems mostly from experience, but you can accelerate its development by focusing on foundational knowledge.
What kind of knowledge?
Interestingly, he advises against a generic business degree often.
Really?
Yeah. He recommends instead a deep understanding of things like microeconomics, game theory, psychology, persuasion, ethics, mathematics, computer science.
The fundamental frameworks.
Exactly. The fundamental frameworks for understanding how the world actually works, how decisions get made. And crucially, he emphasizes that actively doing and reading are far more effective for building judgment than passively watching or listening.
Get your hands dirty, basically. Build things, try things.
That's the idea.
So build that mental toolkit to make better decisions, which your leverage can then magnify positively.
Got it. He also talks about setting an aspirational hourly rate. What's the strategy behind that? It sounds a bit aspirational.
It is aspirational, but it's a powerful mental model for valuing your time.
Okay.
Naval suggests setting an extremely high hourly rate for yourself, like almost absurdly high, maybe thousands of dollars an
I
hour.
know you're not making that now.
Especially if you're not making that now, and then use it as a filter
A filter for what?
for how you spend your time. If a task or a problem or a meeting can be solved or outsourced or delegated for less than your aspirational rate, you should generally do it. Or just eliminate the task altogether.
So it forces you to focus. It forces you to concentrate only on the highest value activities that truly require your unique skills and judgment, the things only you can do. He mentions using a figure like $5,000 an hour early on, just as a guide. It's about protecting your focus for the stuff that really moves the needle.
That's a bold way to prioritize.
Yeah.
Really makes you think about the value of your attention. He also encourages becoming the best in the world at what you do. That sounds daunting. How does one even approach that?
Yeah, it sounds huge, but he clarifies it. It's not necessarily about being the absolute best in some massive, broadly defined category like business or art.
Yeah.
Instead, it's about continuously refining your focus, your niche, until you reach a point where you are truly the best at that specific intersection.
Finding your unique spot.
Exactly. It often circles back to finding your specific knowledge and expressing it authentically. You keep narrowing and deepening your field until you are the best at that very particular thing you do. It takes dedicated effort, it takes time, for sure. But the idea is to carve out your unique domain and master it. Become the best at the intersection of your unique skills and passions.
Right. Combining things maybe no one else has combined in quite that way.
That's often where it lies.
And then he introduces this productize yourself framework. Can you give us a quick breakdown? It sounds like a mnemonic.
It is, yeah. It's a helpful mnemonic for thinking about this whole long-term wealth creation thing. It asks 3 questions. Are you being authentic?
Okay, back to specific knowledge.
Right. Are you productizing your unique skills or knowledge?
Productizing. Meaning
taking that unique knowledge or skill and packaging it somehow so others can consume it or use it. Could be a service, a digital product, a course, even just your unique way of solving problems for clients.
Got it. Making it usable by others.
Exactly. And the third question, are you scaling that productized authenticity? Using labor, capital, code, or media?
The leverage piece.
The leverage piece. So, authentic, productizing, scaling is a neat little framework to check if you're on the right path, creating leverage from your individuality.
That's a concise way to frame the whole process. And you mentioned earlier, the internet is a huge part of this.
Absolutely. The internet has just fundamentally changed the game. It's dramatically lowered the barriers to entry for both creation and distribution.
Yeah.
It allows individuals with very specific, maybe even obscure interests and knowledge to find a global audience.
Find your tribe.
Find your tribe, exactly. And build businesses by expressing their unique perspectives and skills. You don't need the traditional gatekeepers, publishers, studios, whatever, nearly as much anymore to reach people and create value.
Now, while all this high-level strategy is crucial, what about the basics? What foundational skills does he see as essential, especially early on?
He really stresses strong fundamentals, basic arithmetic and numeracy, just being comfortable with numbers.
Yeah.
Clear, concise communication, both written and spoken,
Super important.
and the ability to persuade others ethically. He believes these are far more valuable early on than deep technical expertise in one narrow area. Build a solid base in these, aim for excellence in the basics, because they amplify everything else you do.
Good reminder not to neglect the fundamentals while chasing the shiny new thing. He also has a very direct saying, intentions don't matter, actions do. Pretty blunt.
It is blunt, but it's a vital truth, isn't it? At the end of the day, your outcomes are determined by what you actually do.
Not what you meant to do.
Not what you meant to do or planned to do or dreamed of doing. Consistent execution, putting in the work, that's what drives results. Ideas are easy, execution is hard.
Okay. Circling back to the core of wealth creation, he reiterates the importance of building versus buying equity. Why does he hammer this point so hard?
Because it gets back to that fundamental definition of wealth. He emphasizes that true wealth, the kind that leads to lasting freedom, comes from either starting your own companies or making early investments in other promising ventures.
Owning a piece of the upside.
Exactly, owning a piece of the pie. Working for a salary, even a high one, while necessary for many, is fundamentally limited by your time. Equity, owning a part of the business, aligns your incentives with the long-term success of the enterprise and offers that potential for exponential growth detached from your hours worked.
Let's touch on luck. It's often misunderstood. He famously says something like, get rich without getting lucky. But then he outlines 4 types of luck. How does that work? Seems contradictory.
Yeah, it does seem contradictory at first glance. But he makes a crucial distinction between passively hoping for good fortune.
Winning the lottery.
Right, that's blind luck, his first type, versus actively creating the conditions for luck to find you.
Okay, how do you do that?
Well, his other types of luck involve motion. Hustle, just being active, increases your chances of stumbling onto something.
Yeah.
Then there's spotting luck, developing expertise, so you can recognize a lucky break when others miss it.
Being prepared.
Being prepared, exactly. And the final, most powerful type he calls luck as destiny. This is the luck that finds you because of your unique character, your reputation, your actions.
How does that work?
By consistently acting with integrity, developing unique skills, that's specific knowledge, building a strong reputation, you essentially become a magnet for certain kinds of opportunities. People seek you out. Good fortune gravitates towards you because of who you are and how you operate. It's about making yourself the kind of person opportunities want to find.
So it's less about random chance and more about building character that attracts luck. That's interesting. What about networking? Is that a big strategy for him? Lots of people push networking events and stuff.
Interestingly, he places less emphasis on that kind of traditional, proactive, often transactional business networking. Yeah. His philosophy is more like focus on becoming a maker. Focus on building something truly valuable or interesting.
Do good work.
Do good work, become excellent at what you do, and people will naturally be drawn to you. He suggests prioritizing creating value over chasing connections. In a way, your work becomes your network. Interesting people will find you if you're doing interesting things.
That's a refreshing counterpoint to the usual collect business cards advice.
Yeah.
He also highlights the significance of having strong personal values. How do those play into building wealth and a good life?
For him, strong personal values are non-negotiable, foundational. He has this clear principle, something like, the closer you want to get to me, the better your values have to be.
Wow, sets a high bar.
It does. He believes aligning yourself with people who share high ethical standards is absolutely essential for building trust and fostering those long-term successful relationships we talked about.
In business and life.
Both professionally and personally. It's a fundamental filter for who you allow into your inner circle, who you partner with, who you spend your time with. Integrity attracts integrity.
Makes sense for long-term games. Finally, on the subject of wealth, he really underscores the absolute necessity of patience.
Absolutely critical. He stresses that significant outcomes, especially in wealth creation, are almost always the result of compounding over a long time.
It doesn't happen overnight.
Rarely. Once you've laid the groundwork, you've got your specific knowledge, you're building leverage, you're taking accountability. You need the patience to let those seeds grow, let things compound.
Let the system work.
Right. He even advises against obsessively tracking progress day to day or week to week.
Why that?
Because it can be discouraging. Progress isn't always linear. Watching the pot boil can make you lose motivation or get distracted from the long-term vision. It's about playing the long game, trusting the process once you set it up correctly.
That's a truly comprehensive look at Naval's principles for building wealth. Really fascinating stuff. Now let's shift gears. Let's turn our attention to the second major theme in the almanac, learning happiness. He starts with a pretty bold assertion. Happiness is learned and a choice. That's a perspective shift for many, I think.
It really is. He directly challenges the common idea that happiness is just, determined by your external circumstances, your job, your relationships, how much money you have, or that it's just an inherent trait you're born with.
Like you're either a happy person or you're not.
Right. He argues against that. Instead, he posits that it's a skill, something that can be cultivated through conscious choices, through habits, through a fundamental shift in mindset. He emphasizes how adaptable, how malleable the human mind is.
Neuroplasticity and all that.
Exactly, suggesting we have far more agency, more control over our internal emotional state than we often believe. The core insight is simple but profound. Happiness is an internal job.
An inside game.
An inside game, yeah. Not an external reward you chase.
And he strongly links happiness to the practice of being present. Why is presence so crucial for him?
Because he believes that genuine happiness, true contentment, resides only in fully experiencing the current moment.
Right here, right now.
Right here, right now. Our tendency, our default mode often, is to dwell on the past regrets, mistakes, or anxiously anticipate the future worries, desires.
Yeah, the mind races.
And that pulls us away from the only time we actually have, which is now. That creates dissatisfaction. He even talks about enlightenment, not as some mystical state, but simply as the space between our thoughts.
The gap.
The gaps. Suggesting that moments of pure presence, of just being, are always available to us if we learn to access them. The takeaway is that true contentment isn't out there somewhere. It lies in appreciating what is right now.
So, quieting that mental noise, anchoring ourselves in the immediate experience, he also states that happiness requires peace, inner peace. What does that look like according to him? How do you get it?
Yeah, for Naval, inner peace is the absolute bedrock of happiness. You can't really have lasting happiness without it, he argues. He suggests cultivating it by lessening the grip of our ego, our sense of self-importance.
Lowering the identity.
Lowering the identity, exactly. Quieting that relentless internal chatter, the monkey mind. Actively avoiding negativity, being really conscious about the information you consume, the news, social media.
The input.
The inputs, yes, and the people you surround yourself with. And also deeply valuing your time, understanding its preciousness, basically limiting exposure to sources of stress, anxiety, and unhappiness. It's about curating your internal environment.
That makes sense. Proactively managing your mental and emotional space. Here's a really striking statement. Every desire is a chosen unhappiness. Whoa, can you unpack the logic there? It sounds counterintuitive.
It does sound harsh, but there's a deep logic to it. It's about recognizing that the very act of wanting something intensely creates a potential for suffering.
Oh, so.
Because the desire itself establishes a gap, right, between your current reality and your desired state. And that gap, that tension, can be a constant source of discontentment, frustration, anxiety.
Until you get the thing.
Until you get the thing, and then maybe you just want the next thing.
Ah, the hedonic treadmill.
Exactly. So the more desires you accumulate, the more potential sources of unhappiness you're essentially inviting into your life. The implication isn't necessarily to have no desires, but to examine them closely, to choose them wisely, maybe minimize the ones that cause unnecessary suffering. It can lead to greater inherent peace with what you already have.
So fewer wants, less attachment, potentially more contentment. Okay. He also cautions that success does not earn happiness. That flies in the face of so much societal conditioning, doesn't it? Work hard, get successful, then you will be happy.
Totally goes against the grain. He argues that while achieving external goals, wealth, status, promotions, whatever, can bring temporary satisfaction, maybe excitement.
A little boost.
A little boost, yeah. But it doesn't guarantee lasting happiness. That feeling of success is often fleeting. We adapt really quickly to new circumstances, that hedonic treadmill again, and then we just set new, higher goals, continuing the chase.
Right.
He emphasizes that happiness is a state of being that needs to be cultivated internally, independently of external achievements. You can be wildly successful by societal standards and still be miserable.
We see that all the time.
And conversely, you can find deep contentment, even with modest external success. Happiness and success are two different games.
And a significant internal obstacle to happiness, in his view, is envy. Why does he see that as such a potent enemy?
He identifies envy as just deeply corrosive. It directly undermines our ability to be content with our own lives.
Because you're always looking over your shoulder.
Exactly. Constantly comparing ourselves to others, fixating on what they have, what they've achieved, it just breeds dissatisfaction and resentment. It prevents us from appreciating the good in our own lives, our own blessings. He basically says envy is a zero-sum game you play against yourself, and you always lose.
Yeah, that makes sense. Your happiness isn't diminished by someone else's success, unless you let envy make it so.
Precisely.
Okay, so he then shifts to the idea that happiness is built by habits. What kind of daily practices does he suggest contribute to a happier state? It's not just about mindset, but actions.
Right, it's very practical. He emphasizes the profound impact of consistent daily routines on our overall well-being. This includes stuff like prioritizing a healthy diet. He specifically advises minimizing that nasty combo of sugar and processed fats.
Yeah, the junk food trap.
Big time.
Yeah.
Also, limiting exposure to negative stimuli like being mindful of endless scrolling on social media or doom scrolling in the news.
Curating your inputs again.
Curating inputs, definitely. And consciously choosing supportive, positive social connections. He mentions the 5 chimps theory.
Ah, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
That's the one. It highlights how heavily influenced we are by our closest social circle. So, selecting friends and associates wisely is actually crucial for maintaining a positive emotional baseline. It's about creating a reinforcing cycle of positive habits that support your well-being day in, day out.
Makes sense. You build the foundation through daily choices. He also talks about the power of finding happiness in acceptance. What does that entail? Accepting bad things.
It's a core tenet for him, yeah. But it's not about resignation or liking bad things. It's more about accepting reality as it is in this moment.
Okay.
He believes that a primary source of our suffering comes from resisting reality, constantly wishing things were different than they are right now.
Fighting what is.
Fighting what is, learning to accept things as they are, the situation, your feelings about it, other people's actions without that constant internal battle, is essential for finding peace. He even suggests using the word accept internally like a mantra when facing difficulty. It's about letting go of that desperate need to control everything and finding a kind of peace within the present situation, whatever it is.
That's a tough one, but powerful if you can do it. He then moves to the idea of saving yourself. What's the underlying message there? Sounds intense.
It is pretty direct. It's a powerful call for taking complete, radical personal responsibility for your own well-being.
No one's coming to rescue you.
That's the vibe. While acknowledging the value of guidance from doctors, mentors, teachers, therapists, all useful inputs, he emphasizes that ultimately you and only you are the one accountable.
Accountable for what?
For your health, your physical fitness, your knowledge, your mental clarity and calmness, your financial stability, all the key areas. No one else can do this fundamental work for you. You have to be the primary driver of your own well-being.
And a key part of that self-reliance seems to be choosing to be yourself. Authenticity again.
Absolutely. It connects back. He strongly encourages listening to your own inner voice, your intuition, and pursuing your own path authentically. Don't try to conform to external pressures or societal expectations of who you should be.
The comparison trap again.
Exactly. He famously says, no one in the world is going to beat you at being you. Trying to emulate others to be someone you're not is not only exhausting, it's ultimately unfulfilling, and you'll probably fail anyway. Your unique perspective, your authentic self, that's your greatest asset in life, not just in business.
He also briefly touches on the practical aspects of choosing to care for yourself, mentioning diet and exercise specifically.
Yeah, the fundamentals again. He underscores the importance of nourishing your body well, specifically cautioning against processed foods, that sugar-fat combo again, and advocating for regular physical activity. He's known for suggesting things like walking meetings, simple ways to integrate movement into the day.
Making it easy to be active.
Right. And he brings back that principle. Easy choices, hard life, hard choices, easy life.
How does that apply here?
Well, the easy choice is the donut, the couch, skipping the workout. The hard choice in the moment is the healthy meal, the walk, the exercise. But those hard choices compound into an easier, healthier, more energetic life long term. While the easy choices often lead to hardship down the road, it applies directly to self-care.
Makes sense. What about meditation? That seems significant in his approach, too.
Very significant. He describes meditation quite evocatively as intermittent fasting for the mind.
Intermittent fasting for the mind. I like that.
Yeah, it's a great analogy, a way to clear out the mental clutter, reduce the constant noise, and enhance self-awareness. He mentions there are various forms, doesn't prescribe one specific technique, but highlights the core benefit. Learning to simply observe your thoughts without judgment.
Not getting carried away by them.
Exactly, not getting hooked. This practice helps quiet that relentless mental chatter, the monkey mind, and cultivate a greater sense of inner calm, focus, and detachment. It strengthens your ability to choose your responses rather than just react.
He then discusses choosing to build yourself and choosing to grow yourself. Is there a distinction there? Sounds similar.
There's a subtle distinction, I think. Choosing to build yourself seems to emphasize the power of establishing positive habits and consistently working on self-improvement day by day. This is where he uses that phrase, impatience with actions, patience with results.
Ah, act now, but wait for the outcome.
Right. Be proactive in taking the steps, build the habits, do the work now, but be patient about seeing the long-term transformation. Choosing to grow yourself, on the other hand, feels more focused on setting up systems for continuous learning and development.
Like reading.
Reading is huge for him, yeah. Lifelong learning, striving to become the best version of yourself over time, focusing on the journey of growth itself rather than just fixating on specific, maybe fleeting goals. Build systems, not just goals.
Okay, systems over goals. He also delves into choosing to free yourself from various limitations or burdens. What kind of freedoms is he talking about?
He discusses several crucial freedoms that contribute to peace and happiness. There's freedom from the burden of others' expectations.
How do you get free from that?
By realizing their expectations are fundamentally their problem, their interpretation, not your responsibility to live up to.
Okay.
There's freedom from the destructive power of anger, understanding that it primarily harms yourself.
Holding on to anger is like drinking poison.
And expecting the other person to die.
Exactly.
There's freedom from being bound to employment you dislike, either through achieving financial independence.
Back to the wealth part.
Right, or by finding work that genuinely aligns with your passions and values. And crucially, freedom from the tyranny of uncontrolled thoughts, learning to manage that monkey mind through things like meditation and mindfulness. Taming your own mind.
That's a lot of freedom to aim for. Finally, on happiness, he touches on the meanings of life. Big question. What's his take?
He doesn't give one single answer, which is probably wise. He offers a few perspectives. First, he suggests meaning is deeply personal. Each individual has to discover, or importantly, create it for themselves.
Make your own meaning.
Right. Second, he acknowledges the philosophical view that maybe there is no inherent universal meaning handed down from somewhere. And if that's the case, it's actually liberating. We have the freedom to define our own purpose.
Takes the pressure off finding the one true meaning.
Exactly. And third, he briefly touches on a more scientific perspective, talking about life as a local reversal of entropy. This idea that life creates order, complexity, and information in a universe naturally tending towards disorder and decay.
Interesting.
But ultimately, he brings it back to something practical, identifying and living in accordance with your core values. That alignment, he suggests, is a reliable path to a fulfilling and meaningful life, regardless of which philosophical view you hold.
Living by your values. He also briefly mentions rational Buddhism. What's that about? Is it a religion?
Not really a religion in the way he uses it. It's more his term for a pragmatic, evidence-based approach to cultivating inner peace and well-being.
Okay.
It involves taking the core practical principles from Buddhist philosophy, mindfulness, acceptance, understanding suffering, non-attachment, and applying them in a practical, almost secular way, stripping away dogma, focusing on the actionable techniques that demonstrably help achieve mental clarity and reduce suffering.
Practical tools for peace.
Exactly.
And his final thought on happiness brings us right back to where we started, in a way.
Yes, he reiterates that fundamental truth. The present moment is the only reality we ever truly have. All suffering comes from dwelling on the past or worrying about the future. All happiness is found right here, right now. So focusing our attention and appreciation on the now is essential for actually experiencing happiness.
Wow. This has been an incredibly insightful exploration of the almanack of naval ravikant.
Ah,
We've covered so much ground, haven't
we
we?
really have.
From those tangible strategies for building wealth, specific knowledge, leverage, accountability, playing long-term games ethically,
Hmm.
to the more internal but equally important journey of cultivating happiness through conscious choices, presence, acceptance, habits, self-awareness. It's quite a framework.
Absolutely. And as comprehensive as we've tried to be, this discussion is really just scratching the surface, isn't it?
Totally.
There's so much nuance and depth in the actual almanac, in his own words. We'd highly encourage you, the listener, to seek out the full text or listen to his interviews to really delve deeper into these ideas and uncover even more perspectives.
Definitely recommended. So as you reflect on all of this, maybe consider how even seemingly small, consistent actions aligned with these principles we've discussed could compound over time,
Yeah.
leading to maybe unexpected but significant improvements in both your financial well-being and your overall happiness, your sense of peace. Here's a thought to leave you with, tying into that hard choices, easy life idea. What's one small hard choice you could commit to today? Just one small one. That might pave the way, even slightly, for a more easy life in the future. Could be related to wealth, could be related to happiness.
And we'd genuinely be interested to hear what resonated most with you during this deep dive. What were your key takeaways? What questions are still maybe bubbling up for you?
Yeah, share your thoughts if you like. The pursuit of knowledge and maybe a better understanding of ourselves, it really is a continuous journey, isn't it? Something we're all kind of on together.